what I'm suggesting that if you really want to get into transformational healing, spend more time in silence and in introspection and in meditation to listen to what the body is trying to communicate to you. Once you listen, then the trick, like I said, is counterintuitively lean into it. Lean into that area of discomfort based upon your ability and start asking body, beautiful, wise body, what are you trying to share with me? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to communicate to me? And then sit in an expanded state and listen. Because the body, if given the chance, if you have a communication and a respectful dialogue with it, it will start to unravel things that you get to start paying attention to for your healing journey.
Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to the show. I have on the show today Dr. Mary Sanders. And Dr. Mary has a wealth of experience as a medical intuitive and chiropractor and is deeply committed to guiding people on their journey of personal transformation. She focuses on helping people cultivate thriving health, happiness, and purpose through the powerful tools of energy medicine, spiritual embodiment, meditation. So you know that me and Dr. Mary are going to get along just great. She also has her podcast, internationally acclaimed podcast, Energy Medicine, which I had the honor of being on. It's such a great podcast. If you want to go check that out, which talks about everything related to mind, body, and spirit. And we are talking today all about energy and how your energy affects your overall well-being. We talk about somatic wisdom and what that means, the wisdom of the body. We talk about listening to the signals of body and how that in and of itself can help break free from limiting beliefs and be able to really align with what you want in life, your true desires in life. And manifestation can be kind of a triggering word for people, but the energy in your body and the signals your body are sending are directly correlated to what you're drawing and what you're attracting. We're going to talk about that and what it looks like to really listen to your body for healing. And Dr. Mary works a lot with the chakras. And so we'll talk about what chakra calibration is and what that looks like to help you really be able to tune into your body and be able to break through those beliefs and the mindsets that are holding you back from attracting what you want in your life. So let's jump in. All right, y'all, I'm here with Dr. Mary, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you.
Hope, I'm telling you, in all honesty, the pleasure is all mine. I'm super excited to connect with you.
Me too. And Dr. Mary and I have been collaborating because I was on her podcast, which will come out later this year, and then she's on mine. And so we get to share our own insights, which I love. Like the podcast swapping thing is one of my favorite things. So I love that we're able to offer expertise on each other's platforms. And so you are so knowledgeable on all things energy medicine and the body. And I want to really dive into that and start with that conversation. And I know that we talk about somatic healing on this podcast. I do somatic work, but you coming from your energy medicine perspective and being a medical intuitive and being a chiropractor and having this kind of medical side of things, I really want to dive into that with you. And I would love to know your definition and your explanation of what is somatic wisdom, what is somatic intelligence.
Okay, so we're just going to dive in.
Going to jump right in
from the very, very, very beginning.
That's it.
So, Hope, as you mentioned, my background, I have spent over 30 years as a practicing chiropractor. And one of the first things philosophically that I learned when I was in chiropractic school is that we have this innate intelligence that runs within our physical body. The innate intelligence that allows our body to heal from above, down, inside, and out. Okay? I learned this over 30 years ago, so I have a tremendous amount of respect for the human body. And quite honestly, It never ceases to amaze me, okay? The biology that I learned 35 years ago is changing. It's changing from a gross micro or macrobiological level into something more quantum. The same is true for neurology and all the systems of the physical body. And what we know from a neurological perspective, and this is a buzzword in today's world, and that many of us are walking around in a dysregulated state, meaning that our autonomic nervous system, and that just runs division of the central nervous system, and autonomically we run a sympathetic branch, which is our fight, flight, freeze. Then we have a parasympathetic division that is our rest, digest, and heal. Okay. So when we tap into the parasympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system, we honor and respect that 80% of the information that comes from our body then gets transferred up to our brain for processing. And so when I tap into that 80% awareness, I call that somatic wisdom. Okay. Within each and every single one of us. Now, listeners, what I am suggesting may feel counterintuitive, but as you are walking or going about your day, you are going to notice various body regions, various different body sensations. We catalog it, and then we just ignore it. And so what I'm suggesting that if you really want to get into transformational healing, spend more time in silence and in introspection and in meditation to listen to what the body is trying to communicate to you. Once you listen, then the trick, like I said, is counterintuitively lean into it. Lean into that area of discomfort based upon your ability and start asking body, beautiful, wise body, what are you trying to share with me? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to communicate to me? And then sit in an expanded state and listen. Because the body, if given the chance, if you have a communication and a respectful dialogue with it, it will start to unravel things that you get to start paying attention to for your healing journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like the term you use. You've used the term before, holistic wealth. And I loved that term. And I think you had a whole episode about that on your podcast, or at least it was a big chunk of it. And I loved that term because I think sometimes we think of holistic health and we think of wealth and we think of two different things. But when you put those two together and talk about holistic wealth, we're talking about everything, right? Your health, like your financial wealth, your physical healing wealth, like all of that is part of that wealth equation. And I think sometimes too, I think we touched a little bit on this interview we did together, that we so often separate our physical healing, right? Our kind of mental, emotional healing, but then also everything else going on around us, like our life and what we're drawing in, what we're attracting, and our belief. Like we separate all these, are like compartmentalized. Where you're talking about this holistic wealth, like all of that is connected. And the way that we have this connection with that somatic wisdom you were just talking about, that connects us to what we really want and what we really desire. I'd love for you to speak on that connection.
Absolutely. And listeners, I just have to say that I'm standing over here in my physical location in Boulder, Colorado. And I know that Hope is located. Where are you?
I'm in Texas.
In Texas. Okay.
Yes.
So Hope and I had this conversation yesterday when we were on the podcast, and Hope was just like, I can't separate. We were talking about functional health, and she was talking about blood panels and various different diagnostic tests that show you the physical. And she's like, yeah, but the physical is the emotional. The emotional is the mental is the energetic is the spiritual. And I Hope in her expressive way was like, I can't separate these. And I sat there on the other side of the other side of the camera and mic, and I'm like, neither can I. I mean, it just doesn't exist in my world. So the mere fact that you're bringing this up right now tells me that, there is no separateness. We are unified. We are unified, beautiful spirits living in human homes, having this human experience. And so when we think about the human body, the physical body, we can no longer say it's just a musculoskeletal problem.
Mhm.
My shoulder hurts. Oh, it's because I lifted too many weights, or I was holding my baby on my hip for too long. We think that it's a cause and effect. And sometimes, yes, there is a direct physical cause and effect. However, underneath that is an energetic, chemical, a discordance of some energetics. Otherwise, you would not have had, okay? We can no longer separate it. Now, I'm going to go one step further, and this concept, Hope, is going to be kind of foreign to some of the listeners. But if we are operating from the premise that we are electromagnetic beings, then we have a job to receive information from our environment. We assimilate that information within our chakra systems, and then we express our energy back out into the environment through our life force energy. If there are any violations, any rips, tears, perforations, holes within the biofield that surrounds our physical body, it will allow an environmental influence to penetrate into the energetic, thus penetrating into the physical. So it is one part. When you think of wellness or you think of health, I can no longer say it's compartmentalized. Health and wellness and wealth is not a financial thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is a holistic being. It's an organism that has fine balances to it. It has checks and balances. If any one thing becomes too excessive or distorted, then that alters the message you're putting out to the universe. Or the opposite side, it becomes deficient or underactive. That alters the message that goes out into the environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and I love talking about the chakras because we talk about that on the show. But I think sometimes there's this maybe overcomplication, but there's kind of a disconnect. But you're like, we understand, okay, like we know we have the 7 main chakras, and we've talked about them plenty of times on the show, so listeners are familiar. But I think sometimes it's kind of this unknown territory when it comes to like the healing part, like you're talking about these perforations, rips, all that. So when it comes to recalibrating and kind of this chakra calibration, what does that look like? Like, how do we go about doing that to really figure out like where are these pieces where there could be holes or stagnation or whatever?
Okay. So I love this question. And so we've been kind of building upon this concept that the body has its own somatic wisdom. So let's say I suffer from, and this is true for me, within my left hip extensors, I have tightness. Okay. And so I roll it out on a tennis ball. I do foam rolling. I lift weights. I do yoga. I do all of the things that I know musculoskeletally to do. I also know that I can lean into the idea that my hip extensors or my butt muscles are going to be intimately connected into my first energy center. So then I go, oh, wow. So the themes, and the listeners, I know that you and Hope have talked about this. You know the overarching themes of the first energy center. It's all about survival. But when you dig underneath survival, I'm talking about, are you aligned with your purpose? Are you financially resourceful for your own well-being and those that depend on you? Are you finding your placement within the community? And do you deeply, deeply trust that you will be loved, cared for, and supported regardless of what happens in your world? And I'm talking about capital TRUST. So when I go, oh, wow, okay, so I've got a pain in my left butt. Okay, so that connects into my first energy center. And I look at the overarching themes and I'm like, wow, I could probably, I've had some fear. I've had the fear of the unknown that I've been sitting with. And so maybe, I might have an opportunity to open up or to calibrate or auto-calibrate that energy center to allow for more safety, security, and abundance in my life. But I'm going to take it one step further. I know that the first energy center is connected into the adrenal glands. And listeners, this is part of the endocrine system. Just means that the adrenal glands are responsible for hormones. And it could be hormones that you might be aware of: DHEA, cortisol, epinephrine, adrenal, those just to name a few. So if I know that I have a tendency, once again, to run in a sympathetic go, go, go kind of mentality, then it becomes the pain in my left butt is a reminder to shift more into parasympathetics to allow my adrenal hormones to become more balanced. So that is the process of auto-calibrating an energy center known as a chakra to serve my highest good, and incorporating somatic wisdom within that whole process. If I wasn't paying attention to the pain in my butt, I probably wouldn't get to, oh, right, Mary, you need to relax and relax way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What is that, the actual process for you? And you can keep going with that example you gave of calibrating. Like, what are you physically doing? How are you being? Like, what does that process look like for you, where you can kind of get that back in alignment?
Yeah. So when I think about calibration, and I want to back up and say that I teach people chakra anatomy. Like, I've learned, how the chakras function from so many different mentors in my lifetime. And the one that stuck out to me the most was Dr. Francesca McCartney's example at the Academy of Intuition Medicine. And she used to be a Montessori school teacher. So she loves props, simple props. And so she came to the lecture about chakra anatomy, and she came to the lecture with a kitchen funnel. The funnel that you're going to use to take a liquid and put it into a bottle, or maybe a dry spice and put it back into the spice bottle. So you've got a wide mouth and a narrow funnel so that you can get the liquid or the substance into a narrow place. And so she's like, okay, so you think about the chakras and you think about a wheel, the classic definition of what a chakra is. In Vedic medicine, it's just considered to be a wheel or a vortex. And then she's like, think about the ways that this could be distorted. And so she tipped this funnel horizontally. She tipped the wide mouth down. She tipped the wide mouth up. She tipped it over to the left and to the right. And then she's like, take the shape of a circle and oblong it and change it and let it metamorphosize. So any of those irregularities will create a discordance in the frequency of what that chakra emits. So if I'm walking around with a distorted first chakra, and I am on the rat race to make more money, and finances just always appears to be scarce in my life, then there's going to be a distortion that I want to calibrate to a version that's more healthy. Healthy for me too, so that I can experience safety, security, abundance on all levels within my life. So that process, you asked me, I start to, I ask in a meditative state, okay, chakra, what do you need from me? What do you look like? What can I do to help support you? And then I go through the process of thinking about expanding and contracting and reshaping it in my mind's eye. Now, listeners, you have to understand that energy follows thoughts and intention. So the more creative you are in your visualization, the more responsive energetically your body will be. So I'm in here kind of remodeling, my first chakra. I'm like, okay, let's work with this. Let's create. And then I do this often, in that when I'm holding space for somebody, I can retrieve an original blueprint of my first chakra, and I can reorchestrate, I can redesign, I can what's the word I'm looking for? I can make a new chakra. If it's not working for me, I'll make a new one. And so then that calibration is always to be in service to my greatest self.
That's great. That's a really great visual. And thank you for explaining that, because I think it does I love that. They're just like the frequency is going to match what you're seeing, what you're doing. It's going to match your energy. And I think that's a big piece of it. 'Cause I think that's where the overcomplication comes is and I know I have to catch myself. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? When it's like more of this getting into the state of being for you to see it and visualize and make the change that way versus having this, 5-step process that you check off to get your chakra, I'm using air quotes here, fixed or, whatever. So yeah, I think there's this energetic process that and I think sometimes too, let me ask you this, because I find like kind of maybe going back to the original question, just talking about somatic wisdom and somatic intelligence, what would you tell someone who maybe isn't as in tune as maybe you or I, right, with the body and kind of these energetic signals to get into a place? Like, are there practices? Like, what is the process of getting to that place where we can really tune in to be able to have that like energetic process, to do that energetic process that you're talking about?
Yeah. Now here, Hope, I'm all about allowing the process to unfold, but I do have a sequence that I have held space for countless people that seems to be productive. And that is, if we can create an entrainment with the earth, if we can meet and greet and bound our energy with Mother Earth, if we can ground, then we have that additional support that we need for healing. That's the first thing that I want to say. So grounding is the first thing. The second thing that I hold space for is teaching people to have a detached alignment. And what I mean by that is that when they are holding other people's energies, we learn how to be in relations with the other person in a detached way. So we mutually separate from other people's energies. And when we do that in a meditative or expansive state, Hope, what ends up happening is that we naturally ground out any and all discordant energy which no longer serves us in present time. And so other people's energies start to dissipate. The reason that we do this, Hope, is so that you can get more clarity. You can then tap into your body and know that what you're experiencing is truly belongs to you and not somebody else. So that's kind of important to do. And then the third step of the sequence is to work with the timing clock, a minor chakra located behind the eyeballs at a very sacred place called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, where the optic nerves come together, so that we can really become present. Now, oftentimes we carry energy within our body that is not present time. It can be previous life experiences or past life experiences, or it can be ancestral experiences that happen to be showing up in present time. So if we can ground, if we can create a detached alignment, and if we can enhance our present time awareness, then it becomes so much easier. So much easier, because all the typical junk that you carry around is no longer there. What you have is truly your own issue.
Yeah, I love that. I love that process. I love that you mentioned grounding, because I just did an episode on grounding like a month ago. And so everybody is familiar with that now. So I love that you mentioned that. And the detachment is so crucial. And I've never heard anybody speak about it in this context. So I love that you brought that forward. And I know I think it was a different interview I did the other day. I was talking about the sacral and having our solar plexus, open solar plexus center in human design, since I use human design in my work. And that's a really important concept I teach to work with my clients who have an open solar plexus, for being able to do exactly what you're just saying, to detach. And I think we really do. I feel like that is kind of glossed over, and even in spiritual conversations, like energetic conversations, is that piece, because I really think we underestimate how much of other people's junk we're carrying around. Like, that's a huge one.
Oh, I'm going to make the assumption that the majority of your listeners are women. And so, ladies, I'm here to tell you that we are culturally ingrained to carry other people's emotions. If it's not from being a mother or an aunt or a caretaker or caring for the parents, we naturally are viewed in the society as being the nurturers. And part of that responsibility, whether it be spoken or unspoken in our culture, is that we want the other person to feel better. And so consequently, we take on their energy thinking thinking that we're doing them a service because now we're carrying their junk and they're walking around carefree. I'm making an exaggeration, but in essence, what we will find is that that is a very empathic thing to do. And many of the listeners, I know that you're highly sensitive, beautiful beings walking on this physical planet. I get it. It has its challenges. But lean away from being more of an empath and carrying other people's emotions. You can be sensitive to them and be compassionate of them, but don't take them on as your own. And the reason being twofold. Number one, it will create dis-ease within your physical body. And number two, you are robbing the other person of their own spiritual journey. You are not serving the other person to their highest good if you try to carry something for them. Now, if that doesn't hit home, ladies, how many of you literally you're mothering your children and then you mother your husband or your spouse? And you do things for them that they are fully capable of doing for themselves. You do it. You do it because A, you can, B, you think it's a gesture of love, and C, they expect it of you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to take a different viewpoint and step back a little bit and allow the other person to step forward in their essence and care for themselves the way that they need to, that's heightening their journey.
Mm-hmm. I love that you just said that, the empath thing and taking away from someone's spiritual journey. Like, oh my gosh, my mind was just like when you were saying that. Because that is so, oh my gosh, like how true that is. And the compassion thing, I want to speak to that. I was listening to one of Brene Brown's books last week. I can't remember which one it was, but she talks about shame. Her thing is she's studying shame, but she was talking about that, the empath part, like you're talking about being empathetic versus and like carrying that versus having compassion for someone. And I really think we have a hard time distinguishing between the two. And there's a difference of having compassion for someone in their situation and being an empath, but really like being empathetic, but not carrying it, right? That like there's two different ways to go about that. Like you can feel for them, you can have compassion, but not take it on as yours. It's like you said, you're carrying something that's not yours, and you really are taking. I mean, I talked about this in a interview last week. I talked about the core wounds and like the lesson we're here to learn. And a lot of times we have that lesson we learn over and over and over and over again. But every time we learn it, we're learning it from a different perspective because we grow every time we meet that lesson again. And I think it's the same thing where it's having that, being able to let someone like learn their lesson without you having to carry that for them. You said that so beautifully.
Thank you. And I have to say that it took me a while.
Yeah.
It took me a while to fully learn that process. I love Brene. I think that she has so much wisdom to share in today's society. But when we're talking about compassion, somebody else that I want to bring into the awareness is Pema Chodron. And she is an American Buddhist. She's delightful. I think she must be 86, 87. And she said at one point in time, and I'm going to butcher the quote, so don't, hold me word for word. But what she said was that empathy is a fool's form of compassion.
Wow.
And so she was inviting us to lean away from empathy, right? When we're actively listening and supporting another person, she wants us to move away from, you say the solar plexus, I say the sacral plexus, when it comes to carrying other people's energies, and listen from a place of expanded compassion coming from the heart center. So you can still care for, love, and support this person coming from more compassion than any day coming from empathy.
Wow. Oh, that's such a big distinction. I love that. That's amazing. This is so good. There's so many nuggets here and just this like short conversation. I do have a couple of questions I want to ask you. I know we have to start to wrap up pretty soon. And before I have a culminating question I like to ask everyone. What would be your kind of final wisdom, insight for the women listening on really diving into that journey of somatic wisdom and learning the body and listening? Do you have any final thoughts of little bits of wisdom to drop?
Yeah, I just invite everybody that's listening to trust your intuition. If you're receiving messages, you're receiving them for a reason. And it doesn't serve you to say, that can't possibly be true, or I don't want to act upon that, so I'm just going to ignore that it just came to me. And the more that you distrust your intuition, the more that you're going to continue to run old patterns or to, have those discordances within your energetic field. So your intuition is real, and please take the time to listen and to trust it.
Such good advice. Such sound advice. Okay, Dr. Mary, I have one more question I want to ask you, but before I do, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about you and the work that you do and all the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
Thank you for this opportunity, Hope. Listeners, my website is a living and breathing organism. So I invite you to check me out at www.drmarysanders.com. And you'll find everything from an opportunity for a free discovery call to the latest podcast to the next international retreat. So all of that is there.
Amazing. Of course, that'll be in the show notes. So go check it out. Give her a follow on all the things, and you can follow what she's doing. And an international retreat with you sounds amazing. So y'all go check all that out. The last question that I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody is, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Okay. Not a short answer, but I'll try to condense it.
You can go as long as you want.
Yeah. When I tap into my divine purpose, I enter into this space of the quantum field, and I connect into the version of self, that radiant, beautiful self who is in alignment with her purpose, who is in alignment with her wisdom, and she radiates this out through her electromagnetic frequency. And then I have an intimate relationship with her. I just give her a hug. She gives me a hug, and we are one.
I love that. What a beautiful image. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Mary. And thank you for your insight and your wisdom on all of this somatic wisdom conversation. And thank you for everything that you're doing in the world. I'm grateful for you.
Oh, I'm grateful for you too. It's really so refreshing to connect with like-minded, soulful beings. So thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's at The Hope Pedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.